July 2023 with me, LACJ, and my two studio guests, David Jammers and Noel Gordon. Okay, now we have a phone line here. If anybody wants to call in and give their opinion, 07931 417 553. That's 07931 417 553. Please feel free to give us a call. Live in the studio, we'll put you on. Give us your opinions. All right, now you spoke about the, let's go back to the, you spoke about the lack of food, did you say?
Yeah, to control an animal, what they, to take a wild animal, you got to be in control of the food supply. Right. So every, when you get your dog or whatever, your cat or whatever, you're now in control of that food supply. So that, just to get food, that you're going to do what you need to do to take food. And if I put certain restrictions in, you got to follow that.
Right. Now, let's talk a little bit about, let's go back to 2020, 2021, within the COVID, the pandemic period over those 2 years, 2020 to 2022, whereby there was some food restrictions, not a lot, but there was some food. There was a lot of toilet paper restriction. I don't know what that was all about. But there was a lot of people running to buy toilet paper and different things. Now, what did you think about that pandemic, Noah?
What I thought about the pandemic when it came out, it didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel right.
Explain yourself.
When a pandemic come out, let's say you got to invent a vaccine for that pandemic. Vaccines take years to develop. They rushed this thing through in a matter of months. And then they said that the drug company is not going to be held responsible for any side effects. They actually said that. And as time went on, we realized that even that guy, Microsoft, was saying that Bill Gates was saying that they didn't realize at the time it was only the elderly that mainly it was killing. They thought it was going to kill everybody. And since then I've seen other documentaries. A guy was brought to European 10 years ago. He was a doctor, and he said, look, these things are going to happen in the future. They put him back in again, and he said, back in 1956, they had already developed and isolated the spike protein back in 1956.
Right.
So they're saying he's saying it never came out of Wuhan. It didn't come out of a lab. But if it came out of a lab, it was probably an American lab. It was put there by them. So this stuff about the pandemic, I just didn't buy it. It's all more about them doing some sort of testing on humans and biological warfare. And blame the Chinese because they've got issues with the Chinese. They don't want the Chinese to have the power in the economy because they will be the next world superpower. So economically, they're really scared of China.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
David, what did you think about it?
Well, I've got some information from someone high up in the health service where their wife was going to travel abroad and they was advised to take what's the aspirin for malaria? What are they called again?
Malaria tablets.
Malaria tablets. Sorry, malaria tablets.
Right.
And when they went to go and take the malaria tablets, they was off the market. They was taken off the market. So there's one. That's a bit strange. How comes there's no malaria tablets? So I've done some further research and I found out what had happened. By chance, the Chinese had found out that the Africans who took malaria tablets was not getting affected by the COVID. And then they found out there was a natural I haven't got the technical term, but there was a natural ingredient in that vaccine that grew amongst, it's in Jamaica, Africa.
It's in warm countries.
Yeah. There's a natural bush ingredient that you can take as an antidote. We've done further research. All of those, everything's was taken off the market. So then I found out that this, if you look at the Latin word for the coronavirus, it's coronavirus something. That was around in the 1920s. It's in domesticated animals. And every year they've got to the virus mutates, so they've got to keep bringing out different antidotes for it. So, for instance, what would happen sometimes you'd have a dog and then you get diarrhea. That's the coronavirus, but they don't want you to know about it in the livestock, because you would stop buying their food stuff. So basically, it kept mutating, and what's happened at one point, it transmitted itself to the human. But
gain of function. They call it gain of function. You take a harmless virus and you weaponize it, so it can invade the human body and do some damage.
Right. Now, there's going to be people out there, non-believers, who say we're talking a bunch of rubbish and none of us don't know anything. There's going to be people out there who say that. And there's also going to be a lot of people who agree with what you're saying. And I happen to, I mean, I'm not going to claim that I know the technical terminologies or the technical function or dysfunction of a vaccine for coronavirus. I'm not going to claim that I know all that stuff. But what I do know is that, like you said, no, they got this thing together too quickly. As far as I'm concerned.
Far too quick.
There was very little trials done on it. And right now, today, to this date, I've lost maybe 5 or 6 friends to sudden death heart attacks. Actually, not heart attacks. Cardiac arrests. People who just dropped down dead.
Yes,
Because they had the vaccine, yeah?
Yeah, and they had the vaccine. And it's like, wait a minute, everybody's shrugging their shoulders. I mean, my own cousin had 1 injection. And this is, I'm telling you this as a fact. My cousin had 1 injection. And he had a cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And he nearly died. He was actually in the place to get the injection, the coronavirus injection, his first one. And I don't know if you guys know this, but they make you have to stay there for about 20 minutes, half an hour after you get the injection. And they've got this thing called a defibrillator, which is the thing that jump starts your heart.
It restarts your heart. Yeah.
It restarts your heart. So you got to think to yourself, well, why do you need that in a medical? I mean, I've been in the hospital. I was sick in 2021. I was in hospital. They didn't have the defibrillator in my bed. And I've never heard of anybody in the hospital going in there for an operation having to have a defibrillator next to them just in case their heart stops. So my cousin had this. He had the injection. He was sitting there waiting, and he said he just started to feel funny. And next thing, he woke up in the hospital 1 month later.
1 month later.
1 month later. And I'm not guessing this happened. It's not hearsay. He's my family member, my first cousin. And me and him are very, very close. So I know he nearly wasn't there anymore. And the first thing they said to him when he woke up, this is the key. As soon as he woke up, he said, "What the hell am I doing here? What happened?" And they said, I won't say his name, but they said, "Sir, it wasn't the coronavirus injection." I was like, what a strange thing to say. The first thing somebody wakes up after you've been in hospital for a month, you didn't even know you was there. And the first thing somebody says to you, it wasn't the coronavirus injection. That's a strange thing to say.
Very strange, very strange. And I can second what you're saying because my neighbour took the jab. He had a stroke, ended up in hospital with a minor stroke. These things do happen. It was even on the news. A woman took the vaccination and she actually killed her. She's actually in hospital, affecting her, causing a blood clot on the brain. So for a certain percentage of the population, it's going to give them problems. And they're saying it's still safe. But a lot of people have had problems. In the question to the defibrillator, I used to work in hospitals as a medical engineer. Every ward is supposed to have a defibrillator, especially the ward where there's elderly people. And because some people, even a footballer, can have had a heart attack a while back.
That's right. Fabrice Muamba.
That's right. Luckily, there was a doctor.
Newcastle United player, yeah.
So they're putting defibrillators now have to be out there in society as a precaution. But
talking about football, not cutting it. Even the footballer used to play for Manchester City. You know, he had to retire.
That's
all
right.
Of a sudden.
Heart condition. I can't remember his name.
Aguero.
Yeah.
Aguero had to. He retired. He's retired now. He's only about. I don't think he's even. Maybe 30 years old. I mean, very skillful player. He was Manchester City's top striker, Aguero, and he's now retired because he's got some heart problems.
Yeah,
you know?
it doesn't come out.
And he thinks it's from the jab.
Oh, so he said, yeah. Oh, it could well be. Yeah, there's a lot of things they're not really telling us about the side effects. And there was people. There were different batches they sent around the world. In certain parts of the world, people died, and they're not talking about that. I mean, I've had COVID twice, but I refuse to have the jab. So people do recover from it.
Yeah, you got a little thing inside you called an immune system.
Immune system, yeah.
And if you're somebody, I always I had the COVID once, the virus once, and that was before I even knew it was COVID. Me and my girlfriend had it, and that's before we even knew it was COVID. And I ain't gonna lie to you, it knocked me on my ass.
Yeah, it was quite. Yeah,
It knocked me on my ass, but it was like a bad flu. And what did I take for it? I think I took a couple of Panadol. I drank soup. I had soup, and I just stayed in bed. And I think I had some max strength Lemsip with honey and ginger and stuff.
Yeah, I
And it
think
just, I done a lot of sweating for about 3 days, and boom, I was okay. And I didn't know till afterwards it was COVID. My missus lost her sense of smell and taste for a long, long time. She lost it, but it's back now. But now we know that we caught COVID.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so and not only that, when we came back from Gambia, and I was DJing at an event, and I think that's where I caught it from. And some other people caught COVID there, and a couple of them died. A couple of people who were at that event died behind catching COVID. Now, again, if you treat your body halfway decent, you should be okay.
It should be. If you, especially with us in the UK, we don't get enough vitamin D.
Yeah.
And they said vitamin D actually helps fight this. And they were saying this in intensive care units when they analysed the patients. They were low on vitamin D. So vitamin D is a natural thing that will help you fight it.
Well, it's not natural. It's because unless you live in a
the whole climate,
country, where the sun shines, the sun gives us
the rays from the sun.
black people vitamin D through the sun rays, and we accept it better because we have a thing called melanin.
That's right.
And melanin protects us from the harmful rays of the sun. Yeah. Now, it's the same thing for Caucasian people, white people, but their skin doesn't accept the sun like ours does because we got that layer of protection. We can still get cancers, and we can still get sunstroke, and if we stay out in the sun too long, in the hot sun too long, we're not robots, we're humans.
That's right.
But we do have this protective layer called melanin, which protects us more better.
Melanin is, there's a whole book written on melanin.
Yeah.
How it works in our body, how we synthesize it.
Okay. So let's get on to the next subject I wanted to go into, which is going to be a real doozy. Is I got a question for you guys. How in God's name did the LGBTQ community become so powerful? How did they become so powerful to the point where all over the world people are, it was the LGBT community. Now it's the not drag. What am I talking about? The trans community. It's like their time now to really push their agenda. And what do you think about that, David?
You're dropping some bombs in here, aren't you?
That's right. I told you we don't mess around.
Well, you got you got to go back to like the mentality of their form of high society is the Greeks. They say that the Western society developed from the Greek society. If you look at the Greek society, and the clergy is structured on homosexuality, because the learning system there was elderly men in their 60s,
young boys,
sextarians, where the word sex comes from, took the young boys under their instruction, under their tuition, and it was highly based on this older men with younger boys. The whole of the Greek society, even the gymnasiums, it was where men went to see men, because gymnasium means naked. It means naked, So the whole, if you listen to the words of the school, the words that you use to study, it's still evident. The word stud is a horse for breeding. So this is where the words come. It is for a man environment is where the knowledge got. So stud means a horse for breeding. Yeah. So basically this is a young boy with an older man, and this is where was in their form of how they came together. It was based on homosexuality.
I've seen some of the. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Some of the Greek hieroglyphics is nothing but images of men with men. You know what I mean? And that was their thing back in their day.
And then you go into the religion, and their interpretation of religion is that even though we've got a divine creator, you're born wicked.
Right.
So you're born wicked, so that means the man has to be separated from the woman. So you have all men together in a monastery and all the women together in a nunnery. So there's no procreation of the race. So when you have all men together, and you start to develop unnatural deprived behavior, and this is on, we're talking about the upper echelons of society have this in them. The woman was only used just to propagate the name, hence the word marriage, hence the word groom. The woman was seen as a horse because you only groom a horse. Bride means to be ride. the one who you ride. You know. So the woman was just seen as a carrier of the offspring. And in the upper echelons of society, where the power structure is, it was always in the background. It was always in the background. But now they've decided that, to push it to the forefront. Because when I used to do security, when you see all the ballet and all of this, it's all of them in there. All the art forms, it's all about them. All about men expressing themselves with other men. But now it's just coming to the surface. So it's all a planned behavior to how can we start to push our idea through on the masses.
No, give me your opinion.
What I think is, I come from a science background, and I know back in the 50s they said they were delivering babies, and sometimes they were born with both male and female genitals.
Yeah, they call hermaphrodites.
Yeah. So to take away one of the genitals. Now, if they take away the wrong one, the child's gonna grow up thinking there's somebody else. So in that sort of science type of thing, so you might grow up. So you got two genitals, you've got male and female. So take away the female, and you might be a male. They'll take away the female, and you've got a male genital. But they'll take away the male genital, so you might grow up thinking you're a female.
Well, I would have thought that if you've got a womb and
it doesn't make no sense, does it really?
And ovaries and stuff, that you're a female.
No.
Period.
Yeah, exactly. That's the argument.
You could have a male. You could have a penis, but you're still a female.
Yeah,
because you've got the female parts.
Female parts, yeah.
And you can have a child.
Yeah.
You got a womb. You got ovaries.
As long as you got that, you're
a female.
But I think part of it as well is another agenda to this, and the other agenda is to use this to take away your choices, to take away your ability to think, because a young child now cannot make a decision. I don't like that behavior, or I do like that behavior. You're not allowed to say that's a man or a woman. You're not allowed to have any opinion on whether it displeases you or whether it's a correct way. So the other agenda is to take away your ability to make a decision.
So why do you think that right now, why is it right now, this whole way of thinking, this whole ethos of thinking when it comes to male and female, why is there such a big uproar about it? Why is it all of a sudden it's offensive to call a woman a woman?
That doesn't make no sense. Yeah, that make no sense. You're either male or female.
It's the timing of it. With the COVID, now this is coming because already people's minds have been disorientated and family structures have been broken up through us having to live in a lockdown situation. So now we no longer be able to communicate how we normally do. So now this is an ideal timing now to push this through.
07931 417 553 07931 417 553. That is a number you can call through to us if you want to and give us your opinion on some of the subject matter we're talking about. If you think we're talking a load of rubbish, you can call and say that. If you think we're talking sense and you've got something to add to the conversation, we'd love to hear from you.
And this is once again is education. Juice means to lead, like seduce, you see something and you move to it. Reduce, you see something, lead you back. So education actually means to lead you out something like a dog. So that is, and the thing is, if you control the language, you control the thinking. If you control the thinking, you control the actions. So they've manipulated the language of a man and a woman now. So you can no longer think about it in the way you used to. Right. So that's going to control your actions towards it.
Well, I want to make this very clear that I'm speaking for myself, and I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for you guys as well. I have nothing whatsoever against any person anywhere who happens to be bisexual or homosexual, or gay, or whatever you want to call it, LGBTQ. By the way, do you know what them letters stand for?
LGBT,
Lesbian.
gay, trans,
What's the B stand for?
bisexual, lesbian, gay, trans.
But they're going to bring more letters into the equation.
Yeah, they keep on that.
They're going to be more.
Because it's LGBTQI right now.
What's the I for?
Plus. You're asking me?
They're bringing in.
I got no idea. I got no idea.
What it is basically, it's not as you said. There's nothing against. But what it is, it's when you decide to enforce your behavior on somebody else, and they cannot say anything against it.
But let me say this to you guys, and I don't know if, again, this is just my opinion, and I'm not scared to say my opinion. I'm ready to have a conversation with anybody live about my opinion, if my opinion is that bad. I've noticed that these people have attached themselves to the black cause. I mean, to me, in this world, in this whole entire world, we are the ones who get trodden on, and for want of a better description, we're the ones that get shit on from a great height all over the world. And the LGBT community has attached their cause to our cause, and now even black people are taking on the LGBT community's cause like it's got something to do with us. It really has not got anything to do with us. Yes, there are black gays, but we don't have to, because they're not coming out for us. In the grand scheme of things, they're not coming out for us. You know, in Tunisia, in the last few weeks, they've taken a bunch of black people and stuck them out in the desert and left them there. And I don't hear anybody from the LGBTQ community coming out and saying nothing about it. You know, in the people that are coming over on the Atlantic, on them rubber dinghies that turn over and get a bunch of people die. I don't hear the LGBT community saying nothing about it. I think we've got another live call. Let's see if we can get them on. Hello, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello,
Hello.
David.
You're calling to speak to David. All right. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna have to call him back in about half an hour. Yeah. 07931 417 553 is the hotline number. Please give us a call in the studio. I think that's one of we're using David Jammer's phone. I think that's one of his friends. Hey, hello, David. Go on.
Yeah. So the actual definition,
Okay.
LGBTQ, it means lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender.
No, it must be lesbian, bisexual.
No, they can't. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex. That's
Okay,
the definition.
LGBT. Yeah.
That's what the I's for. Intersex.
What the hell is that?
Intersex. I have no idea. Intersex. I don't know.
Is that cover for the? Is that for the? Now let me ask you guys a question. Forget about that. All right, let me ask you a question. If you had a young, say, 5-year-old boy, 5-year-old, what's that? Is that what's that? Kindergarten? What is that?
That's key stage 1, kindergarten. I'd say just before that.
5 years old is what?
Yeah.
Is that kindergarten?
That's infants.
Infants. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so 5-year-old. If you had a 5-year-old boy or girl in school, and they had these grown men coming in with all this crazy makeup on and looking all crazy, is that something that you feel is right? No.
No, because it depends how you portray it. If you say this, it's just an act, it's a drama, you might get away with it. But the fact you put in men dressing up as women, it might then confuse the child. I think you have to give the child proper guidance. Back in my day, they weren't doing that sort of stuff.
We didn't have none of that.
We didn't do none of that. No. You might get some like Daniel LaRue dressing up a man dressing up as a woman. But that's a comedy act.
Well, I don't know. Well, that was on television, but
Yeah.
they weren't coming into school to read you a
No,
story.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
when I was a kid in this country before I moved to America, when it came to story time, they just give you some milk and some cookies, and you just relax. And by the time the school ended after the story, you was ready to go home and sleep,
Yeah.
relax. Your mom would come and pick you up, dad would come and pick you up from school, and you're going home to sleep and relax. It was a very calming kind of situation. But what they got now is these trans people coming into the school, David, to read to kids, and I don't know why that is necessary. What is the agenda there?
Well, the thing is, the most concerning thing, there's no regard to how this will affect the thinking of the child in relation to learning subjects that they need to learn to be able to have a great life or optimize their capacity in society. They're not doing no research in does this conflict in the child's thought processes in maths, science, biology, justice, well-being, cooking skills. You know, how does this infer in the child's thinking? If a young minor of 2 is seeing this, you know, what effect is this going to have on their thought process in relation to how they conduct themselves, their other children, how they do their homework? So it's a direct interception on the mentality of the child and stopping their ability to learn skills that they need to learn to pass exams.
No, what do you say about that?
Well, I wouldn't be teaching them that. I mean, I want my child to learn how to read, science, how to articulate themselves. Like you said, children nowadays can't string a sentence together. It starts much younger than that. You can teach your child to start talking and reading from the age of 2. You can actually start that process. So I wouldn't be doing that I don't want to confuse the child.
And furthermore, they're allowing children to make a decision on their sexuality and even operating on them before they even reach puberty.
I've heard some stuff about that. In America, they got some kind of dramas like that. I don't know how real that is. It sounds almost far-fetched for me, but if they're talking about it, the chances are that it's happening in some cases. But my biggest worry in this whole thing is I, as a black man, don't want black people, black society, to accept all this stuff that you know, we don't have to accept it because we didn't ask for it. We didn't ask for none of that stuff.
That's true.
Yeah, we didn't ask for none. We don't want, you know, the gay community, keep your business over there. If you want to be gay and dress up like a woman and all this kind of stuff, that's on you. That's fine. I got no problem with it. But don't bring it to me. Don't bring it to mine. I don't want it. I don't want it for my children. I don't care what you think. And you should have the right to do this. You have got the right to do anything you want behind closed doors. But don't bring it to my door. I don't want to know about it. I don't want black people to be a part of this argument. I don't want us to be on the side of that argument. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want us to be on that side of that argument.
It's not a uniform.
Because we've got bigger fish to fry. Because when they get, the thing is, when they get all their go ahead, when they get all their legitimacy, we still are not going to have ours.
Exactly. We're still at the bottom.
We're still at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And believe you me, the gay community is not going to look back at us. Because there are, believe it or not, lots of racist gay people. They can't stand black people. And they do whatever they can do to our detriment. You get me? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that. And that's why I was talking about earlier on. I was saying the youngsters seem to have this, I don't know, this wish that everything was all hunky-dory. I've had to tell several young black guys, you know what I mean? You got the, they think you got it hard because the police stop and search and all that. Back in my day, there was laws like sus.
Yeah.
You know, which meant you weren't getting stopped and searched. You was getting stopped and arrested and taken to the police station and charged with sus. And all you was doing was walking down the road or standing at the bus stop. But as far as they're concerned, you was there looking to rob people. And that's where the sus came in. And then it's on you when you're at court to have a lawyer to get you out of that situation. Otherwise, you're going to jail, my friend.
Yeah, but you need lawyers that are going to defend you properly.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you know this, that they put police officers on juries. They're allowed to serve. The reason you've got to tell the judge is because if they know the arresting officer, they can pass information. But what they do nowadays, they don't even tell the judge that the police officer's on the jury. So they're on the jury coercing the other jury members. Happened in the case that I'm familiar with, telling them to go the other way, find him guilty, even though the evidence says he's innocent.
I'll tell you guys a story about when I was on jury service in this country. I'll tell you guys a story before we leave here. But David, you was going to say something.
No, I'll just say that it was just going back into it. They do this behavior in specific places. They couldn't go into the Jewish community or the Chinese community or the Islamic community.
Well, why don't they sorry for jumping in on that. Why don't they try and join up with the Jewish community, for argument's sake? Why? Or the Muslim Islamic community? Why don't they hitch their fight to the Muslim community's wagon or the Jewish community's wagon? Why don't they do that?
Because they've got organisation that can defend them. We don't seem to have an organisation that can defend us. We're an easy target for them. And the thing is, a lot of us are not really schooled properly. We're not really educated, so we can't really defend ourselves.
Back to the education background.
It's always down to education.
And it's back to what Dougie was trying to do as well, is that we need to have a force together. You know, that someone can't come in and tell you without telling me. So we work in a unified force. We can march down the street together over issues that we like something that, like what you just said. The whole of our community can come out and march and force them to backtrack.
It's like the mangrove back in the 70s with John Lewis. They had the mangrove, and you had Dark as Hell. You had a political unit of people from the Caribbean working together, and they were getting harassed by the police all the time. And they took the police on, and they won their case because Dark as Hell was training to be a barrister. He actually had a white barrister come in to show him the ropes, but he took over a lot of the case. And they actually won their challenge because they had the legal backing and they had the intelligence to fight. Nowadays, if something happens to us, who do we go to? You go and find you get arrested, you get a legal aid guy, he comes in, he's not representing you because you're not paying him, the system's paying him. So his job is going to stitch you up because you don't understand the system. It happens all the time with young black men and even men in their 60s. And there's a special schools thing, where they send us to special schools, we've had no education, we don't know how to articulate ourselves, we get in trouble, and we trust the barrister, not realising the barrister's setting us up.
07931417553. We want to hear from you guys. Give us a call in the studio, and we will definitely put you guys online, and so we can hear your opinions. I've got two fantastic studio guests with me, Jammers, or David Jammers, and Noel Gordon. We're talking all kinds of stuff. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you're more than welcome. 07931417553. We want to hear from you this afternoon. We've got about 15 minutes, so we'll take a little break for 2 minutes, and then we come back and close out the rest of the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 07 931 417 553. That's 07 931 417 553. Listen to Dejavufm.com with me, LACJ program each and every Wednesday between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. right here on Dejavufm.com. Big up to all the people who listen to us around the world right now. It's my family in Los Angeles, family in Las Vegas, and all throughout the USA, Atlanta, Georgia, Cleveland, Ohio, and throughout the USA. LACJ here with you until 6, about another 12 minutes or so, with my 2 studio guests. David Jammers and Noel Gordon. We were talking about the LGBT community before, and Noel, what you were saying something in the break there. What's that you were saying?
Well, it's about transgender.
Okay.
And in sports,
okay,
you have men that are transitioning into women. So they're saying you can't go into a sport where as a man, even though you're changing into a woman, because you'll always be a man, and you'll commit to get a woman who is like a lesser, or not as strong as you because you're a female.
Right.
So what's the point? They're basically saying.
Funny
look,
you're saying that.
Get out.
I saw something on YouTube, an MMA bout where a man that transitioned into a woman was fighting a black woman, and I mean, wow, it was like I was thinking to myself, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was really sucking into this black woman, and I thought, that's a guy.
It's a man, yeah.
Why is a man fighting a woman in MMA? And obviously he won. He hit the black woman so hard, she was knocked out on her feet, and I'm thinking to myself, that is not right.
No.
That's
it's
not
not
right.
fair. It's not competition.
It's not competition. David.
Yeah, that's the most like insidious, for want of a better word, because it would be better if they had themselves as a separate entity.
Right.
But they are trying to integrate into being women. You know, so now, like even with the toilets, who would want the idea that now we want to share toilets with share the toilets with a woman? So it's a disrespect actually to what the woman species is as a whole.
Can I just say that in the where was I in Paris? The early 90s, 91, 92, I was in Paris. I was DJing out in Paris. And I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I'm in the center of Paris. I went to a club. They were playing zouk music, which is African kind of calypso, soca. Yeah, they sing in the French, broken French language. And I went to the men's room, and I was in there, you know, I'm up against a cubicle doing my business, and a couple of girls walked in. They were talking French. So I turned around, and I saw a couple of girls, and I thought to myself, what are they doing in there? So I said to them, ladies, this is the men's room. They said, oh, no. This is unisex. So I thought, what? So I literally said to them, what are you talking about? And there were some holes in the ground in what I thought was the men's toilet. And they just kind of pulled their underwears down and just stooped down and peed into these holes. This is like I said, early 90s. So in some places, the structure was starting to happen way back when. Because I've been to 20 odd different countries. I've never ever seen anything like that before or since. You know? So just wanted to cut you. Go on, what you saying?
But it's like the case I was talking about was a guy who's a cyclist competing professionally,
right?
But doing it in a woman's race, and he's transitioning into a woman and saying you can't do that. You're a man. They've banned that all completely.
What's your definition of woman then?
You have to have a womb. You have to have a vagina. You have to
be able to give birth.
Give birth, yeah.
Dave, what's your definition of woman?
Yes, you have to be able to give birth, and it's divinity. It's not just flesh and blood. There's a high science and intelligence that creates a woman, especially in our culture. You know, a man cannot transition into being this divine feminine energy. You know, which the woman is a mindset as well. The nurture, the first scientist. You know, the wisdom comes from the woman, the nurturer, the sharing nature. You can't just come in that essence and especially from and try to say that you're the same.
Right. Is it me, or is there, have you guys noticed on television now, in advert breaks, there's a lot of men on men kind of situations in commercials, and stuff like that, and a lot of them are black. I'm like, what is this agenda? What is this they're trying to rope us into?
But the thing about the problem is because everybody's entitled to do, every species of animal on the planet does what's best for them. That this is the media that we're subjected through is another person's mindset. You know, and they're not looking at it from the development of a black, self-sufficient black society like the Black Wall Street. You know, they're looking at integration, but integration into their immorality. You know, especially go on the trains. Go. You never see a black couple on none of the posters. You know,
No.
you never see that, a black family. You'll only see, as you said, in a sexualized position or in a disabled position, and more likely, you know, as you said, in one of those behavior patterns. This is a destruction of the mindset of a black family.
So we've only got about 7 more minutes. So what I'm going to ask you guys, because this is the life you guys lead. You know, I'll do these shows and allow for people like yourself to come in and say what you believe is the problem. But I'm not a 24/7 activist type or activist person. So what can we do, to turn this ship around? What can we do?
Well, I think Brother Dougie gave us the template. It's you have to have you have an organization where you're currently putting on shows and events highlighting the issues that you're talking about. But Dougie had a unique ability that he could bring people who didn't even like each other together to achieve an objective. And that's what we have to do. We have to realize that we should be united by our differences. We achieve the objective, we can argue afterwards. You know? And he had that unique ability that, you know, now Dougie's out of the equation. You see people are falling out, everybody's fractionized. But Dougie was able to bring people who don't like each other together to achieve.
You see, I've known Dougie, we knew each other from school, and I didn't even know. I knew he was doing some activist work because he sat me down. We had a few conversations, and I tried to get him on to this station, actually Supreme before this, and we just couldn't get our schedules together where we could be and do the show. And now he's not here no more. So no.
So what I'm currently doing is to do with the education system. They put a lot of us when we were younger in special school, said we were retarded, we were dunce.
Right.
And me and James myself, we went to Parliament, House of Commons. We gave a talk. Over 100 people came. Professor Gus John was there, Kim Johnson MP, and other professors, and Leslie Thomas, QC, black QC, professor of law, he came. And we're pushing a campaign now to get the government to recognise what they did to us and then pay us some form of compensation. Not necessarily money, but putting activities out there and raising the awareness that we are struggling because of what you've done to us under a banner of eugenics. So what you can do is there's a documentary called Subnormal, a British Scandal. It's available on BBC iPlayer. Then there's also a petition. If you go to the government website, petitions, and type in Subnormal, that petition will come up. It expires on the 23rd of this month, so we're going to repost it, so just keep your eyes open.
Okay, 5:56, we haven't got a lot of time. Why do you guys think that people just don't want to hear our plight? What is that all about?
Because they don't want to be held responsible. It's accountability. Once they acknowledge it, then they've got to start put things in place and pay money. This is what they reparations, yeah, because they don't want to acknowledge
David.
it.
Yeah, you touched on it. It's a reparation. Basically, you know, if you acknowledge, then you become accountable. And most societies are functioning off of our resources. So you'll have to give back the resources that are making you great to the people you've taken them from. So that's why, out of all the other races, we're not getting our reparations.
Why does everybody always say, you know what, slavery happened this amount 100 years ago, so just get over it? Yet we never seem to have to get over what happened to the Jews in the Holocaust. Why is that? Let's do a quick one for me.
But people don't understand that how we're living now has been dictated to what happened in the past. The reason why you're struggling and somebody else is successful is because they're profiting off the stolen goods that you can see in the British Museum. You know, they're profiting off the resources that they've taken from you, and they tricked you into being called a slave, because slave is Slavic. So that in a court of law, you're not Slavic, you're African or you're Dominican. So they've tricked us into that word. So you're not going to get no reparation unless you recognize you were kidnapped, you were tortured, you were mutilated. So that's a trick word to take you out of your legal power.
No.
As it is, right? There's a Drax family. They're worth millions. They're now paid money back to parts of the Caribbean, but they're doing it voluntary because it's been classed as a crime against humanity, slavery. So they can be taken to the legal system and become bankrupt. They're actually paying it back. Some of them decided to do that, and they're even talking about the king paying back what his family have taken out. I think we just got to keep the force, keep pushing, keep fighting, keep trying.
Yeah, but there is enough black people who want us to not have even a conversation like this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've been brainwashed.
Right. Because they're like the pet dog, the domesticated animal. As Malcolm X said, you know, the house, when they say, when the master's sick, we sick. So when you're trying to get your money back, you're trying to get the money back from me. You see, so that they've been put into that level, you know. So we have a trans...
The house Negro.
Just we're talking about transsexual, we have a trans black man, you know, who transformed themselves into a white ideology.
Mm. Oh, wow.
But the thing is, you know, we're still suffering today. Even legacy, there's a thing called epigenetics. So you inherit what your ancestors went through, that trauma, and you'll suffer. And the trauma, we're still getting it today. The discrimination, the police are still sending people to prison for things they haven't done.
There's a thing called food shops, because we're transforming our money into other people's pockets. Every time they come in with their sweet shops, their food shops, their hairdressers, you know, we're giving our money to somebody else's children so they can be the next doctors and lawyers and leaders.
Okay, so where can we've got about 20 seconds. Where can we get in contact with you guys? You have a website?
No.
Do you have
You can
We've got about
contact
10
me.
seconds.
You can contact me on this mobile number. It's 077 259 40722. That's 077 259 40722.
You are witnessing the sounds of
the big bad boom
from back in the day and beyond. It's Deja.
The station with the best
Dejavufm FM.
best music.
You are listening to Dejavufm.
You're listening to Deja.
You're listening to the hottest internet station, Dejavufm FM.
You're listening to Deja.
Dejavufm FM.
You're listening to Deja.
Have it, show them.